Hey there. Today we're going to dig into a visual that I am almost positive you have seen before, maybe in a classroom, a business training, or just scrolling online. It's that pyramid that promises to unlock the secrets to how we learn. But what if that big secret isn't a secret at all? What if it's just plain wrong?
It's kind of the ultimate question, isn't it, for anyone trying to pick up a new skill or just cram for a test? How do we actually get information to stick in our brains? Well, for decades, a whole lot of people have believed there's a simple numerical answer to that.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet this looks super familiar. It's the famous learning pyramid. The idea is so simple, we barely remember stuff we just read, but we retain almost everything if we actually do it or teach it to someone else. And this has been a guiding light in education for years.
And you can totally see why it's so popular. I mean, look at it. It's clean, it's intuitive, it feels like a clear roadmap. Passive learning at the top is bad, active learning at the bottom is good. On the surface, it makes perfect sense.
But here's the twist. For all its popularity, for all the presentations it's been in, the learning pyramid is a myth. Those clean, simple percentages that get shared over and over again, they're completely made up.
So wait a minute. If the numbers are fake, where in the world did they come from? And what's the real story behind how we learn? Let's dive in and unpack this surprisingly stubborn myth.
Okay, so the story actually kicks off back in the 1960s with an educator named Edgar. He created something called the cone of experience. But almost immediately, other people started modifying his idea. And by the late 60s, these new versions with totally random percentages started making the rounds, and they've basically never stopped.
And let me be absolutely crystal clear about this. There has never been a single research study that produced these specific numbers. Not one. They were just slapped onto Dale's original concept without any evidence at all, probably because they just sounded official.
So, okay, let's push the myth aside for a second and get to the real deal. What was Edgar Dale actually trying to say with his original cone?
See, Dale's real cone of experience had nothing to do with memory percentages. Not at all. It was a visual metaphor, a way to show how we learn by moving from really concrete, hands-on experiences, like actually doing something, to the most abstract, like just reading words on a page.
Dale pretty much sorted learning into these three big buckets. It was all about the type of experience you were having, not a strict ranking of what's best. He was just showing a spectrum, from the symbolic stuff at the top of his cone to direct, hands-on participation at the bottom.
All right, to make this difference impossible to miss, let's do a little side-by-side comparison. The myth versus the reality.
And wow, when you put it like that, the distortion is just glaring, isn't it? The myth is all about these hard numbers, this rigid ranking of what's best. Dale's actual cone? No numbers. It just showed a relationship between different kinds of experiences. It was a thinking tool for teachers, not some scientific law.
And here's the real kicker. Edgar Dale himself specifically told people, hey, don't take this model too literally. He knew it was just a simplified visual, not some scientific formula for memory. The myth does the exact opposite of what he wanted.
So you might be thinking, okay, but why does this one chart matter so much? Well, because this is about so much more than a single pyramid. This is about the real danger of just accepting info because it sounds good and you've seen it everywhere.
Just think about it for a second. An educator might avoid using a fantastic book because they think, oh, students will only retain 10% of that. Or a company could waste thousands of dollars on some complicated hands-on training that just wasn't necessary. That's the real cost of bad information.
So the real lesson here, it's basically a crash course in critical thinking. It's a huge reminder to always ask, where did this come from? Is there a real source here? Just because something is popular doesn't mean it's right. And in this age of instant sharing, we all have a part to play in hitting the brakes on misinformation before we pass it on.
And all of this leads us to one final big question. If a fact is common and is widely accepted as the learning pyramid is actually a total myth, what other bits of common knowledge that we all take for granted might be just as false? Really makes you think, huh? Thanks for digging into this with me.